hold the truth hostage says fire Henry Cavill, keep Ezra Groomer and women beater. He ain't sticking around, kids. I've been saying this for a while. I know a lot of people have been running with that, but it's like, no. That was one of the more political answers I've ever heard out of them guys when they're like, we're going to assess that when we get there. True. Like that's the nicest way possible of saying no.
The thing that blew me away about that was, we all knew that Gunn was gonna, start dismantling the vestiges of the last Snyderverse stuff, and I'm ambivalent to that one way or the other. I personally didn't really care for that era. However, the thing that blew me away was when this Zaslav CEO comes in and he's like, "Oh, The Flash is like the greatest movie ever," and I showed it to Tom Cruise and we both just love it, and I'm like, I just don't want to. I can't take the word of a CEO as a person of good cinematic taste. I've never CEOs. I don't want to trust their judgment when it comes.
You might think he has some kind of like vested interest or something.
Yeah, it was weird. I was like, and everyone's like, "Oh, but Zaslav said," I'm like, "You really going to trust a CEO? Like they're idiots." Whatever.
You know what that reminded me of? That reminded me of leading up to the release of Batman v Superman. Standing ovation. Remember that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What were you going to say, Culture?
No, I was just going to say. So Michael, you're not looking forward to the Flash sequel then?
No, not at all.
That's not going to happen.
No. I had a friend.
Now forevermore, Barry will be the killer of his mother because that's the way this movie basically is.
It's kind of played out that way. But I do have another question. So I don't suspect that we've ever heard Tom Cruise himself say that this was the greatest superhero film ever made.
Yeah, it's all been 3 degrees of separation. Yeah. It's
I've been thinking about this. I think I know why Tom Cruise said that. And I know Culture will be interested in hearing my reason why.
I am.
He's in the middle of a little spat right now.
Oh, with Paramount.
Isn't he? No, with IMAX.
Oh, yeah, he's pissed.
I think I know why he was saying nice things about The Flash. I bet you that Warner Brothers promised they would make sure that The Flash was out of the big IMAX theaters in time for Mission Impossible, as long as he gave it a glowing endorsement. Yes.
This seems extremely plausible, actually.
But they have
because I'm watching this fight right now and I'm going, wait a minute.
He's got no leverage, though. Oppenheimer has a contract signed with IMAX to put it on all of their screens.
I know it hurts you to talk about your boy like this, but I don't think he's going to win this fight.
No, he's stuck, man, and it sucks because it's really going to put a dent in the box office for Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning. But I look, I'm still going to see it 100 times, maybe even I may see it every day in IMAX for the first week it's out. So,
but I almost thought of that last night when I was editing the video. I'm like, I wonder if that's why Tom Cruise did that.
I hadn't thought of it, but now that you posit the theory, I'm like, that really sounds like
it does pass the smell test, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does.
Although Six did bring this to our attention, if this is true, I've never heard of One Take News, so I can't speak to their legitimacy, but
they don't have it
via the Comics Kid, which is another person I can't speak to their legitimacy, says Tom Cruise is reportedly being courted for DC Project. Maybe.
I mean, after his, and I'm not making a joke here, I'm being dead serious. After his experience with Warner, that would have been Universal, sorry, with The Mummy, do you think that he's going to be, do you think he's going to be sort of hesitant or reticent to jump into another midstream franchise multiverse cinematic universe?
Honestly, I don't think he will. I think he's very wrapped up in his Mission Impossible movies. He's got 2 more of those he wants to wrap up at least. And
yeah,
he's not a young man anymore. I mean, sure, he's healthy and all that kind of stuff, but I'm sure he's getting to that point where he's going to want to be done making these action films by the next decade.
I'm not saying he's at an age where he needs his face replaced on a horse,
right?
But
well, then again, you could be right. I mean, maybe he is looking for the next thing after Mission Impossible to kind of take him into the next decade. That could be.
But I don't know. I feel like Tom can pretty much, call the shots for any studio.
Yeah.
I mean, and
I wonder if the Mummy didn't bother him as much, right?
It bothered me. Oh man.
Well, yeah, it bothered anybody who watched the damn movie. But at the end of the day, as far as Tom Cruise, I wonder if it's a blip on his,
I just know that regardless of how a person feels about Tom Cruise, off screen, his track record minus the Mummy has been pretty stellar as far as like his box office. And so that was a real like, oh, and so I have to believe that because of his dedication to creating good entertainment and all that kind of stuff, he talks about that all the time, that he would have been personally irritated by the flub with the trailer and, stepping outside the Paramount house to do that and then having that end result and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. I have no basis for this other than just I sense a disturbance in the force. Like I don't have anything beyond that, but
he might be reluctant.
Yeah.
I would imagine he would be very reluctant right now because just think about it. Now, after this flop, why would he want to be associated with DC now? He may have been tempted before, but now I don't think that this movie right here is going to help anything, because this is going to give DC a bigger taint than it already has. And James Gunn, stupidly, he went and associated himself with the movie by endorsing it. I mean, this is something that he could have turned into a win for himself by simply saying and doing nothing. Everyone knows this is the previous regime. This is why James Gunn is here to fix. It could have been dropped like some leaks to that very end, and he would have been fine. Instead, he went and he associated himself with The Flash. He rehired the director for The Flash. So then he brings that stench of The Flash's failure with him into his reboot. Why would Tom Cruise, who can pick and choose his own projects, want to be part of that? Why would he risk being part of DC now with all of the stigma that is associated with it, rather than to do Jerry Maguire 2 or another Mission Impossible or hell, Top Gun 3?
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's still dealing with some fallout from Paramount directly. I mean, that has not been resolved yet. But I think you're right. I think there's a level of indelible imprint now on Gunn when it comes to just how tied some of these elements are to his new rebooted universe, and I think that that's going to remain. And whether or not that's a stench or a taint or whatever, I think it's going to be really hard to shake that off.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know. How bad is the box office for Blue Beetle?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Because then we have Nightwish Fan 1991 saying for $10, Black Adam flop. And I liked Black Adam. Shazam flop. Flash not looking good. Aquaman expected to sink. The one I'm curious about is Blue Beetle. How bad do you think the box office will be? Completely dead on arrival. Michael, what say you?
It is as Tom was saying just a few minutes ago before I jumped on, the DC cinematic universe has been in such chaos and continual flux for so long that to turn around and say, well, we're stepping out there with Blue Beetle. On the one hand, I'm like, wow, let me toast this shot of whiskey to your balls, because you're stepping away from Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. You're going to do it this way. Okay. On the one hand, I really respect your courage. On the other hand, I say to myself, well, maybe he thinks he's pulling an Iron Man. Maybe he thinks he's finding a character like Iron Man that's more like second or third tier DC that he's going to elevate and bring the audiences in. So I'm torn because on the one hand, I go, that's not what I would start with. But then on the other hand, I say, who knows? Maybe some fresh material with a fresh character that gets thrown in there is the right move. But then you got the hurdles of, will they write a good script? Like Tom said, James Gunn hasn't necessarily made a bad movie in this genre, so he probably has the best chops for it out of anybody. He's got the best chances. You know what? roll the dice. Let's just see what happens.
I can just expand on that by saying, yeah, I mean, it could flop, but this is also the only one that's kind of a wild card. And honestly, it's the only one I believe James Gunn on if he said he saw it and thought it was good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because it's probably, like you were just saying, Michael, it's probably one of the few films out of all this bunch that kind of plays more to his sentiments, right? Like, I could see him making a Blue Beetle movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and the reason he probably said he's the first character and not the first movie is if this movie is a hit, I'm sure I can see him wanting to use that character again and having Sholo play him because he's a perfect cast. Because, Paulie is in the chat right now, but him and I, we pretty much willed his casting into existence. We were like, who should play this role? We're like, him.
Perfect.
It happened. It was like weird. It's one of those rare occasions. So it's like, I can see that being the case. He's like looking at it going, yeah, maybe I wouldn't keep this. Maybe I wouldn't keep that. But this kid's good. And I like this character. It's a James Gunn style character. I can see Blue Beetle coming back again. So as far as the box office, it'll all depend. This has the least attachment to other movies too. That's what I think is going to help it. Because you don't have to have gone and see. This feels like it's more of an also ran. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
It feels like an unfair start. I mean, it's, for this character, but maybe staying within a reasonable budget and casting a not cinematically known actor and other elements of this will maybe help it be successful. I still suspect the budget's still far too much, but it would be nice.
I think it's only 80 million, wasn't
it? Well, okay. Well, a lot of people were projecting a very low box office. I don't have a good read on the film yet, other than to say that every time I've heard that trailer part where Batman's a fascist, the audience in the theater groans. That's not good reception to a trailer. It just I
will say one guy laughed at my Flash screening. So 90 million. So I was close. 90 million. Okay.
Oh, I love it how I said, I have no clue how this movie could do. We just got to roll the dice on it. People are like, "What are you, crazy? It's gonna flop." And I'm like, I pretty much said I'm with
you, Michael. I don't think it. Yeah. I mean, also, like I said, it's only $90 million, so it has less to have to do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I think Paulie's right in the chat that, I mean, you're going to get an audience there that is already overrepresenting in the box office, which they've been disrespected for a long period of time. Your Latino audience. And so now you have a Latino family, a Latino superhero. I mean, an already over-indexing group is going to do even more in the box office, and maybe, just maybe, it'll move the needle in Hollywood, but we'll see. We'll see.
This clip was taken from Midnight's Edge in the Morning, which streams live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time on the Midnight's Edge main channel. There, you can send in your live questions and comments before clips and full stream replays are uploaded to Midnight's Edge live archives. We are also on Twitter, Rumble, Odyssey, and Facebook, so smash that like, help share, subscribe, and join us.